Good morning, viewers. Welcome to MouShauk. Today, we will be starting a new chapter of Class 9 syllabus. So, it will be the respiratory system, okay, according to ICSE syllabus Class 9. Okay. So, before I start, I will request you to please to subscribe my channel if you have not subscribed yet, or if you are a new viewer to my channel. And if you are liking the videos, press the like button, share with your friends so that they can also be benefited from these videos and be meditate before you start your day. So let us also start with a short meditation. Okay, so for that, please concentrate on the point of light. Think that life is pouring into you. Your feelings, working is like it up. Your body, the first to be created with light, and life is flowing out of your body. Your system fully body. Intention from body. The respiratory system. So in this chapter, we will be discussing first the respiration. Okay. Then what are the raw materials required for this respiration and what are the products for it? Then we'll come to types of respiration. Okay. We have two types of respiration, aerobic and anaerobic. Okay. We'll come to what is the need for respiration, some chemical steps which are needed for the respiration. And parts of respiration, that is four parts we have, that is breathing, gaseous transport, tissue respiration, and cellular respiration. What are the respiratory organs involved in this respiration, in this process? Then mechanism, then we'll come to the experiments, some of the experiments on breathing and respiration. So first, this is just a flow chart of the respiration chapter, what we will go through. So before that, what is respiration? And why do we need to study this respiration? We know to live, we have to breathe in and breathe out. Because we need some oxygen for our breathing. So some air for the breathing, not only oxygen, but air we need for breathing. Okay. So the question comes, what is breathing? Okay, why do we need air for breathing? So all this question arises in our mind. Okay. So to solve them, to resolve these questions, to find answers to these questions, we need to know what is respiration. Okay, respiration is a chemical process which releases energy by breaking down glucose for carrying out the life process. Okay? So it is a chemical process which goes inside our body, which releases what? Releases energy. What this energy is required, what this energy comes from burning, from breaking down glucose. The glucose which we take in, the sugar, the food we take in, From that, glucose is taken out. That glucose is broken down in our body, which releases energy. Okay, this energy is why this energy is required, why the energy is produced, because this energy is required for various life processes which occurs in our body, like circulatory system that is the working of the circulatory system, the working of our hands and foot for our working, for our studying, for our eating. So each and every work our body does that requires energy. So, so for getting that energy, glucose has to be broken down to form that to get that energy. Okay? And this breakdown of glucose occurs in a chemical process, and that is respiration. Okay? The raw materials which is required for this respiration is I told you that glucose is broken down. So glucose is required in presence of what, where the glucose is broken down, what helps the glucose to break down, that is oxygen. So the air which we take in, I told you that when we are living in a living when we are living, that means we are taking in air. So from that air, oxygen is required for breaking down of the glucose. So the raw materials which are required are glucose, mainly glucose and oxygen. Okay. Now the products formed. After breakdown of the glucose with the help of oxygen, what is required? What are the products formed? Mainly carbon dioxide and water. Okay, so in presence of oxygen, if glucose is broken down, okay, then what is produced? Carbon dioxide and water, and energy is released. So the equation comes in this way: glucose, that is C6H12O6. Okay, this is the glucose C6H12O6, and 6CO2 is sorry 6O2 molecule. In presence of certain enzymes, it breaks down to carbon dioxide, 6 molecules of carbon dioxide and 6 water molecules to give us energy. And also energy is released. Okay? Now we come to the types of respiration. I told you that in presence of oxygen, if glucose is broken down, that means there is another way of respiration, that is, breaking down of the glucose, that is without oxygen. Okay. So if oxygen, in presence of oxygen, the glucose is broken down, that type of respiration is known as aerobic respiration. In presence of air, respiration is occurring, therefore that is aerobic respiration. Okay. And if there is no oxygen present, that is, if the glucose is breaking down without the presence of oxygen, that is anaerobic respiration. Okay. So I have made a difference between them, that is aerobic and anaerobic respiration. So see, requires oxygen in terms of aerobic respiration, and anaerobic respiration occurs in the absence of oxygen. In case of aerobic respiration, as oxygen is present, so therefore glucose will be broken down completely. Whereas in case of anaerobic respiration, as there is no oxygen, there will be an incomplete breakdown of glucose. Now the products formed in case of aerobic respiration are carbon dioxide and water. But in anaerobic respiration, the glucose is broken down in some cases, or like in animals, like in the tapeworms, which are present in the human intestines, or in animals like the skeletal muscles of human body. What happens? Glucose is broken down in presence of enzymes. It breaks down to lactic acid, and little amount of energy is released. But in case of oxygen, if it is present, if the glucose is broken down, a lot of energy is released. That is equal to 38 ATP molecules of energy is released in case of aerobic respiration. Whereas in anaerobic respiration, 2 ATP is released, only 2 ATP. Okay. Now, what is ATP? ATP is the full form of ATP is adenosine triphosphate. We have studied in the cellular chapter, that is ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. Okay. The energy is released in this form, ATP. First, it is released in ADP and then it is converted to ATP. Okay. So, in case of anaerobic respiration, 2 ATP molecules are released. In case of aerobic respiration, 38 ATP is released. Okay. This aerobic respiration is normally in all animals. Okay, but anaerobic respiration, some plants also it occurs and also in certain animals. Okay. And in human body, it generally occurs in the skeletal first working skeletal muscle. Okay. When we are exercising or doing some fast, like running, okay, so that type of work, when we are doing fast, our muscles are working very fast. That time the uh, respiration, the muscular cells, they respire in this. Now, along with this 38 ATP, in case of aerobic respiration, 420 kilocalories of heat is also released. Okay. So when we sum up this 38 ATP and 420 kilocalories, it comes to what? It comes to 686 kilocalories. So how this comes? Let us see. 1 mole of ATP requires 7 kilocalories. And that is 1 ATP is equal to 7 kilocalories. Therefore, 38 ATP is 7 into 38, that is 266 kilocalories. Now, the total energy that is released is 38 ATP and 420 kilocalories. So, if we sum them up, that is 266 plus 420, that gives us 686 kilocalories. Okay. So you can write in this way, or rather we can write in this way, C6H12O6 plus 6O2, that gives us 6CO2 plus 6H2O plus 686 kilocalories. Clear? Now, in case of anaerobic respiration, it is a slow process. Okay, anaerobic respiration is a slow process because there is no oxygen present. Okay, and this respiration is temporary. It has a toxic effect on the cell. Okay. And it causes the muscles where this respiration occurs to get fatigued and very, very easily, and there is aches in the muscle. That is the muscle pain. Okay. Now, in plants, uh, products are formed in plants or in animals. I mean, in plants and in animals, this anaerobic respiration can occur. In plants, this anaerobic respiration products that are formed are ethanol and carbon dioxide. It releases more heat than in case of animals. But in animals, lactic acid is only formed. No carbon dioxide, only lactic acid. But in case of plants, ethanol and carbon dioxide is formed. Okay? Now, in animals, it releases heat energy. Okay? Next, why do we need respiration? I told you respiration releases energy, and that energy is required for various life processes. What are those life processes? Now, the body cells need this energy for synthesizing proteins from amino acids. So, from amino acids, protein is being synthesized, and for that reason, energy is required. This energy comes from respiration. Then producing enzymes. When enzymes are produced, then also energy is required. Then contracting for muscles for movement. So for when we are moving, when any kind of movement our body happens in our body, that time contraction of the muscle occurs, and that requires energy. Okay? That comes from respiration. Then conducting of electrical impulse in a nerve cell. So when a nerve cell conducts the impulse from one nerve cell to another, like from hand to brain or brain to their hand, back to a hand, so that conduction of impulses, that requires energy. So that comes from what? From respiration. Producing new cells by cell division. When cell division occurs, okay, new cells are being formed, we know that time also what is required? Energy is required. And that comes from where? From respiration. Here, now keeping the body warm in warm-blooded animals. We are warm-blooded animals. Okay, we know human beings are warm-blooded animals, and some other animals like birds, they are warm-blooded animals. So these, to keep our body warm, what is required? Energy is required, and that comes from what? From respiration. So these are the life processes where we need energy, and that comes from respiration. So respiration needs, what is the need for respiration? We have summarized it. Okay? Next are the chemical steps. Now, according to aerobic respiration, we know in presence of oxygen, glucose breaks down. In presence of enzymes, carbon dioxide and water is formed, which releases 38 ATP plus 420 kilocalories of heat. Now that we have summed up into 686 kilocalories, if we convert the 686 kilocalories into kilojoules, then it will be multiplied by 4.2. Okay, that will come to 2890 kilojoules. Okay, now according to anaerobic respiration, glucose in presence of enzymes breaks down to lactic acid in case of animals, and 2 ATP, only 2 ATP of heat is released with some other heat. Okay? ATP molecule is only 2. Now, this chemical breakdown of glucose, okay, overall, this, whatever it may be, aerobic or anaerobic. So, this breakdown of glucose chemically, it really yields what? It gives energy, which occurs, excuse me, in the living cells. Okay, this the chemical process which is occurring in the living cell is known as cellular or tissue respiration. So this cellular or tissue respiration is nothing but what? It is the chemical breakdown of the glucose inside the cell, which is where it is happening, which is yielding the energy. Okay? Now, this breakdown occurs in series of steps. Not only one step, we are seeing only the equation that is not the step, not only the step, because there are series of steps occurring. Some occur in the cytoplasm, some occur in the mitochondria. So what is mitochondria? We know it's the powerhouse of our body where most of energy is released. Okay. So in the cell chapter, you just recall your cell chapter where you can find the cell where there is mitochondria, where there are finger-like processes, that picture, mitochondrial picture. Okay. So in that mitochondria, maximum steps of this cellular respiration occurs, and some also occurs in the cell, the cytoplasm of the cell, where all the cell organelles are spread, including the nucleus. Okay. Now, each breakdown step is due to a particular enzyme. But these all steps, whether series of steps I told you, occurring in the cell cytoplasm or in the mitochondria, but these series of steps, each step, an enzyme is required. Okay, for each step. Now, the energy that is released along with this process is not all in the form of heat, but a large part is converted to ATP. So the energy that is released is not only in the form of heat. Okay, the large part is converted to adenosine triphosphate, which is known as energy currency, and the mitochondria is known as powerhouse. Okay. Now, the essential steps of respiration are the same, both in plants and animals. Main steps are the same in respiration. Okay. Now, what are the parts of respiration? There are 4 major parts. Okay, 4 major parts. First is breathing. Second is gaseous part. Third is tissue respiration. And the fourth one and the final one is the cellular respiration. Okay. So let us come to this one by one. First is breathing. What is breathing? It's a physical process where oxygen is absorbed by the oxygen absorbing lungs from the atmospheric air by taken in, and oxygen absorbing organ that will force out atmospheric air out, where most of it contains carbon dioxide. So what is the physical process here? Here, the oxygen absorbing organ, here it is lung, that will take the atmospheric air, which is rich in oxygen. We have studied earlier that we need oxygen, we breathe in oxygen, give out carbon dioxide, but it is not possible. We cannot filter out the oxygen and take in and filter out carbon dioxide and give out. That is not possible. No, so we take the whole air inside, which is rich in oxygen. Okay, most of it contains oxygen, and the breathe out air that contains most of carbon dioxide, but along with that, some oxygen also comes out, and other gases also comes out. Even when we are taking it, so along with oxygen, carbon dioxide also gets in. Some other gases also get in, which are mixed with the air. So these two processes, taking in and giving out, both of them combined together forms the breathing. Now, gaseous transport. Lungs absorb the oxygen. So we have taken in rich oxygen-rich air. Now that oxygen-rich air, lungs will take the oxygen, absorb the oxygen. How? By combining the oxygen with the RBC of the blood, that is red blood cells of the blood, okay, which are present in the capillaries, mainly in the capillaries, because arteries are much thick enough, and the finer parts of the arteries are the capillaries. So there they have RBC. That RBC combines with oxygen, forming, the RBC, not the total RBC, but the heme of the RBC, that is the red part of the RBC, that will combine with the oxygen, forming the oxyhemoglobin. Okay, and that will be transported by the arteries throughout the body, all over the body. Okay, now it has been transported through to all the cells, each and every cell of the body. Now the cells will respire. The cells, there will be the breakdown of the glucose will be there, and carbon dioxide will be released, as we have studied earlier. Later also we will be doing so. So the carbon dioxide will release. The carbon dioxide will be given back to the capillaries, and that how will they will come to the back to the lungs by by the veins. In two ways they will be coming back to the lungs. Okay? So first is by combining with the, they will be forming bicarbonates, which will be dissolved in plasma. Okay? The blood has plasma, the liquid part, fluid part, that is plasma. So that, besides the cells, that is white blood cells, RBC and platelets, besides that, the fluid part, that is the plasma. So the plasma, in that plasma, the carbon dioxide will be converted into bicarbonates, and it will be taken to the lungs, where it will be given out, from where it will be given out. Now, another way is it will be combining as soon as the oxyhemoglobin will release oxygen and it will give to the cells. The hemoglobin, heme is free from oxygen, so that will combine with the carbon dioxide. It will be combining with the carbon dioxide, forming carbaminohemoglobin. Okay, and that will in the RBC only, and that will be taken up by the blood and will be carried by the veins to the lungs. Okay, from there they will be given out. Okay, outside. Okay, so this is the process. Okay, now we'll come to tissue respiration. Now the capillaries that will deliver the oxygen to the body cells or tissues, where oxygen diffuses through the thin walls, and these capillaries used in the cellular bag. So what happens in this process here? When the capillaries, I told you the capillaries, the arteries are taking in rich, oxygen-rich air, okay, and that oxygen will be combined in the form of oxyhemoglobin, and that will be carried by the capillaries to the cells. So when the capillaries reach the cells, what will happen? The capillaries have very thin walls. Okay, so from where that body cells, the cells of the the capillary cells, from there the body cells which are which have less rich oxygen, there the oxygen will be diffused, will get diffused to the oxygen deficient cells. Okay, diffusion will occur, and in this process carbon dioxide will also be diffused back to the capillary. So the capillaries will take up the carbon dioxide and release the oxygen to the cells. Okay, so in this way they will exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide at tissue level. Okay, the tissues will do so, not the cells, but the tissues will. Okay, now we will come to the last part of the respiration, that is cellular respiration. It is this in this part there will be a complex chemical change which is occurring inside the cells, which release energy from glucose. Here the main play that goes on. Okay, so that is conversion of oxygen to carbon dioxide. So this main role that is happening in this cellular respiration part. So here the oxygen, the chemical process is occurring, and it will release energy from glucose. This occurs in two main phases and two different phases. So So two processes, two different phases it occurs. One is some of it in the cytoplasm, some of it in the mitochondria, I told you. So what happens in the mitochondria is Krebs cycle. And outside the mitochondria, that is in the cytoplasm, is the glycolysis. Okay? Glycolysis means, lysis means breaking down what? Glycose. What is glucose? So glucose, breaking down of glucose is glycolysis. Okay? And the other is Krebs cycle. So breaking down of glucose that occurs in the cytoplasm outside the mitochondria. Here, pyruvic acid is formed first. Here, what is formed? Pyruvic acid. And then that breaks down into ethanol in case of plants, and in case of animals, lactic acid is formed. Okay? Now, this glycolysis occurs anaerobically, that is, it does not require oxygen. Okay? Very little energy is released in this process in case of glycolysis. Okay? Now, in case of Krebs cycle, here this process occurs in the mitochondria. Okay? Now, the products that is formed is pyruvic acid or lactic acid, and that gives us ATP and carbon dioxide. Aerobic respiration occurs, okay, and much energy is released. Hydrogen ions are released, which are removed through oxygen supplied from forming water. So hydrogen ions are present. Okay, here much amount of energy is released. This requires oxygen presence, and the hydrogen ions which are released, the oxygen combines with this hydrogen ions to form water, and hydrogen ions are removed from the plasma. Okay, the oxygen is required for this hydrogen ions in the body. Okay, to remove this hydrogen. So this is the all that we are discussing today. So this is the picture you can see. See here, carbon dioxide will come out into the blood from the tissue and oxygen will get in. Okay. This is the blood cells. Okay. See, oxygen is getting in. These are the capsules. So let us end here. Till then, go through this. If you have any doubts, please do respond. You can write in the email ID kasturi74@gmail.com, or you can also write in the comment box. Okay. So thank you for joining. Have a good day.